Lots of news about big social video players recently, like YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook. Which social video platform has the most promise, do you think, and why?
From a platform play, I think the ones that have the most reach have the most promise because there's the ability to actually optimize against a number of different variables that are available. So if you've got a small set of users or reach, it becomes difficult to actually optimize because you over-optimize and the reach is diminished. So I think with the platforms that have that large reach, you're more likely to actually find those pockets of users that are most likely to convert and drive offline visitation.
Data has been a major focus for the past 5 to 10 years, but now everyone is saying, what about creative? Which do you think has the bigger impact on the campaign, creative or data?
Both creative and data are key elements. I don't think one is more important than the other. The other one that I would actually add in the mix on top of creative is the actual inventory of the content that it's on. So those three things combined play a key role. You can optimize against all three, but you definitely do want to look at each one from a silo as well as from an omni-channel perspective to say, how's creative performing on this inventory against this target and this data set?
What are you most excited about for video this year, 2017?
So I'm excited about video becoming a DR channel. So being able to not just measure views, clicks, engagements, but actually drive that into offline visitation. Because the dollars that you see that move from display to search, I think you could see the same thing with video because the impact that it has and the ability that it has to actually drive people into the physical store to take an action that is in their consideration set. That's higher consideration than clicking on an ad and going to a site and purchasing, but actually driving to a store, driving to a restaurant, sitting down, eating, shopping. And once you're able to measure that piece, and I think video is going that way, especially with partners like Eyeview, to close that loop, it's going to be incredibly huge because people are going to move dollars accordingly. I think advanced TV has great promise. I think the hard part is reach today. How do you reach a large enough audience to go after that group? But the technology is phenomenal, and we see more and more advertisers jumping in and saying, this is something that I want to explore, this is something that I want to test against. So as that starts to move, the expectation would potentially be that linear TV becomes more advanced in a way, so that you can actually optimize and buy against the same way that you do for advanced. So I expect the market to continue to grow. I expect the measurement to continue to be important, but I expect it to kind of also help change how linear is kind of approached. I think outcomes are huge in the fact that it supports why you spent that money, why you actually spent those dollars. If you don't measure the outcome, it's all branding, and it's all branding without accountability. So the outcome is incredibly important to close that loop. And there's things like viewability that come into play, and that's part of the outcome. Could someone have seen the ad? Is the ad unit from a creative perspective, standard display or video? That's an end outcome to say, is it worth the cost that's in there? And we do see that's the case. It's the outcome of actually going in and saying, what's the quality of the location data that I'm using to identify geofencing or store visitation. So all those things really come into play, and I think the more accountability, the more independent measurement there is, the better it is for the strong players in the field like Eyeview to actually go in and close that loop and lock down those dollars for the benefit of the end advertiser. I think what you're hearing around attribution is going to continue to be a theme in the next year or two, but after that it's going to be the norm. So it's going to be about spending media, but then holding it accountable to not just digital metrics, but offline metrics, and holding both the advertiser and the publisher. And I think the publishers that are the ones that are really going to be held accountable from a quality, from a creative, from a targeting perspective. And partners like Eyeview have actually done a great job early on that sets the tone moving forward to actually drive that better performance longer term, to be one of those winners when offline becomes that key metric that people are optimizing towards.